The Haikelite MT07 is an affordable medium-range thrower that's pretty well built and thought out. It's quite large in size here. Thanks to Banggood for sending out this light for review. I'll have links to where you can find it in the description box below. So as I was saying, this is a big flashlight. There's no other way around that. So here I have it next to a standard US 12-ounce pop can. You can see quite a bit bigger than that. Or the humble $20 bill. Again, still quite a bit bigger than that. This is a good deal larger than the traditional pop can style lights. It's more like a 20-ounce bottle of pop if we were to compare that to a beer bottle. And in my opinion, it's too big to carry in a pocket or on a belt strap, but it'd go into a decently sized bag pretty well. And it's lighter than it looks, although it's still not really light. With batteries, this light's coming in at 759 grams, or 26.07 ounces, so it's still pretty hefty. This light's mostly made from aluminum, and I like that they offer it in a silver finish. If you have a lot of flashlights, chances are they're almost all black, so that's kind of a nice change. The front ring here is a polished steel, I believe, and behind that is the anti-reflective coated glass and the emitter. And I'll grab a better picture of the emitter and put in here for later. But you've got some nice knurling at the front here, then a lot of heat sinking. Then you've got the button ring, along with some of these just cutouts. They look kind of like M-LOK, but they're not. Then at the bottom, you've got a tripod collar there, and it comes with an insert, so you can do 3/8 or a 1/4 inch, which is nice. Below that, you have the body tube where the batteries actually sit, that it's nicely knurled, and then the end cap here. You've also got this attachment that comes with here that'll screw in, and this is where you can attach a lanyard. It's a nice touch, and I like that the light comes with that. While we're on accessories here, it does come with a piece of paracord here that's unfused on either end, and an extra set of O-rings. This light does come apart into several pieces. So you've got the head piece here, deep reflective coated smooth reflector that's in there, and the LED module in this is quite large. And on the back side here, you've got a very, very stiff spring that's nicely attached, and you've got that black circuit board there by Haikelite. And on the other side here, and this is a little bit different design, they made up with another control board there with 4 screws. And my screws were kind of stripped out, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would make removing it and disassembling more difficult. Then you've got the 4 batteries in here. There are springs on this side, and there are these little carriers here, and they're little protective rings that lend itself better to button top batteries. And you can pry those off. They are stuck on with adhesive, and if you do that, you can run flat tops as well. And then this is keyed in a way so you can't put it on and get the voltage incorrect. Everything is square cut on the threads and is pretty stout. This light does tail stand, as you can see here, and it's pretty stable. The Haikelite uses a Cree XHP 70.2 LED, and this is a rather large die, and you can see the 4 emitters that are underneath of it. The tint of the XHP 70.2 in this example is neutral white, and Haikelite's published figures are for the cool white version, so that's the 5,000 lumens. But according to BFL and other reviewers, on this neutral white example, it's more around 4,500. And if cooled, this light can really sustain that lumen level, or a good percentage of it, for quite a while. The beam pattern of this light is a little bit different. It has a noticeable donut of a brighter light up close to it and at longer distances. It's a mix between throw and flood, and the throw portion's fairly narrow due to the deep reflector. On the edges of the spill, it has some kind of ugly blue-purple tint at distance, and more so than other lights that I've noticed in photos and to the eye. So I'll try and show this here. It's hard to show on such a short distance here, and I'll put some longer shots in as well here. But you can see it's a really hot center, narrow beam for the most part, with a little bit of spill, and those color indifferences aren't coming out great on camera here. So here's my night shots for the Haikelite MT07s. This has got the Cree XHP 70.2, and here it is in low mode. When we pan down on the ground, you can see it,
it isn't 1 lumen, it's probably more like 5 or 10. I forget exactly what the manual rates it, but you can't actually see it on camera, which is nice. So this is the next mode up. As you can see, this light is more of a thrower style, but it's got a decent spill. So I'm in a park where I've been before, and I can point down and kind of see that. If I bump up one more time, now we're really starting to throw pretty nicely here. This is more the neutral white LED, so it's gives you a nice color rendering. We are in winter, so there's not much vegetation on the trees. And bumping up one more. Not a lot of difference between those two modes. And here is turbo. You can really start to see the distance there. Really has a nice beam. You can see it's got kind of a donut in the center there, and the camera's picking that up pretty well. It's hard to show on the ground just because it's so intense there, but if I point out, you can see that donut on the trees and the car down there. This is probably a good 150 yards down to the end of that clearing there. I'm going to walk out there and kind of show you what it's like. A couple additional things I just wanted to show here. You can see the blue run indicator on that, and you can just look at the beam. It's so powerful. It shows up well, it shows all the dust in the air. It really is a pretty good spotlight. However, here's my Haikelite MT07s UT, and this is my best thrower. And you can see it's a lot tighter beam pattern here compared to the Haikelite. The Haikelite's a much broader beam. It's kind of more of a mix between a flood and thrower, but it really does throw well. And you can see the neutral white compared to the Haikelite here. But that was something I wanted to compare. So here is the BFL Q8. Again, another soda can light, similar in size and price to the Haikelite. Sorry, it is much more of a flood. You can see it shows the whole exposure down in there. It lights up the entire frame compared to the Haikelite here. It's a little bit throwier, the Haikelite, than the Q8. Both have excellent color rendering, and I've got reviews of the Q8 and the Haikelite in my feed that I'll link to if you're interested in seeing those. So there is the Haikelite in turbo, and there is the Q8 in its highest mode as well.
Run times of this light were pretty good, but not quite as even as I would have hoped. It stepped down after about 5 minutes or so on turbo due to temperature, and that is a configurable option you can turn off. But then it maintained about 75% of its output for about 75 minutes, which is pretty good for such a large light, for such a large output. At that point, the low voltage protection kicked in and the light flashed up to turbo for just a second before shutting down to preserve the batteries. The output's listed at 5,000 lumens, but for this neutral white version, it's closer to 4,500 lumens. And I thought temperatures were well regulated. I tested this pretty extensively outside, and for such a big light, it really helped to regulate the temperature, and it was never too hot to hold in my hand. This light uses a 4S battery configuration in combination with a 6-volt emitter and driver. Because of this, it's important to marry the cells with this light for safety. They should all be of a similar model or the same model cell and similar age and charge level. It's recommended to use the button top batteries as I was mentioning with this light. I'm using the Samsung 30Qs, which are an excellent choice, and I'd highly recommend it for this light. However, if you remove the protective plastic discs on the covers as I was mentioning, and you have to do it on both sides, the tail cap and the carrier, then you can run flat tops. So low's rated for 200 lumens, medium 1 is 550 lumens, medium 2 is 1300 lumens, high is 2300 lumens, and the hidden turbo is 5000 lumens. This light has a pretty standard UI, single click on and off and long click to change modes, double click to go to turbo, and double click again to go to strobe, and there is memory mode available. I found myself sometimes getting trapped in strobe mode, and I appreciated that it wasn't part of the group, but getting trapped there was a little bit confusing until I actually read the manual on this one. I would prefer turbo to be part of that main group, but the shortcut there is a pretty nice way to do it too. And there is a moonlight that can be accessed by, if you hold that power button down from off, you get, for 2 seconds, you get the moonlight here, and I've got it going here. And it's really crazy. It'll run on this hidden moonlight for, they're saying 45 days, which is a really long time. Lockout is available by a single click followed by a long click from off, and you repeat that again to unlock. And the power button here, you can see it's got a blue halo around it, and that actually is a battery power indicator. So when it's solid blue, it means the batteries are between 50 and 100%. Flashing blue is from 9 to 50%, and when it gets below 9%, it'll the LED will flash red. And as I mentioned before, you can remove the thermal regulation fairly easily on this light. However, I'd recommend not, and Haikelite recommends you not do that as well. Packaging of this light's very simple. It comes in this brown paper box with a Haikelite sticker on the top. Inside is just some simple foam that the light sits in. It comes packed in bubble wrap. And as mentioned before, you get a spare set of O-rings, a little bit of a cable there for a lanyard, and then that screw-in lanyard loop. It does come with a pretty nice little manual card, index card here, both in what I presume is Chinese and in English. This is well written and really is a nice just shortcut to your light. In conclusion, this is a nice option from Haikelite if you're looking for a large general purpose light with some real ability to throw. It's not a small and not an EDC option, but it'd be good for those times where you're needing a lot of light for a long period of time. If you have some airflow over it, or if you're in cold conditions, this light will basically run at higher outputs for until the batteries no longer can handle it. The heat on this light is very well controlled for such a large lumen and output size. I really like the neutral white tint in this light, even though it's on the cooler side and has some tint shift across the beam. I find the beam pattern to be pretty useful, but that donut in the center is noticeable and undesirable in my opinion. That said, for the price, this is a very attractive light with this type of throw and output. Take a look on Banggood if you're interested in adding this one to your collection. There's a link in the description below. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Doing so helps me to continue to bring videos like this to you.